My first week living in Seaford was the biggest culture shock that I had ever experienced. I originally lived in New York City, and then I moved to a suburb in New Jersey, and I truly believed that that was rural. When I moved to New Jersey, I was like, oh my gosh, look at all these trees, and I couldn't believe it. And then I moved to Seaford, Delaware, and I was just mind blown. And for the first few weeks and actually months, I felt a great disconnect between who I was and the community I was living in. That quickly changed. The people that I had the opportunities to work with here have completely changed my vision, and my kids have completely changed my mindset. I didn't always hold the beliefs that I do now. I thought that because I came from a low-income neighborhood and I was Hispanic and I was able to go to college and get a job, that it was possible for anyone if they worked hard enough. And it wasn't until the end of my first year teaching that, beyond knowing and kind of experiencing different things, I went beyond that and started to understand why people held those beliefs. It all started to make sense once I got to know my students and I got to know their families and the things that they had experienced that had impacted their ways of viewing the world. And at that moment, I felt compelled to do something to change. So I kind of had to take a step back and think about, how can I develop relationships and connect with those kids so that the 15 minutes of Spanish is just part of what this class is and isn't a big goal, because they have a goal that they have personally set for themselves. They know what I expect as a teacher, but I also want them to have their own personal goals and develop and grow their language further. My vision for my students is to have them absolutely love learning and approach learning with the same passion that they approach the things that they love outside of school, whether it be a sport or being a part of their community or whatever it is that they truly are passionate about. So my vision really focuses on creating opportunities for my students to experience other cultures in a variety of ways within the confines of their town, and also stepping outside of their communities and taking a look at what's going on around them. First time my students are being exposed to multiple Hispanic cultures other than just Mexican, which is what a lot of my students thought Hispanic culture was in a nutshell. And it's so much more dynamic and complex and intricate than that. I want my students to do more than just tolerate other races or cultures. I want them to strive to understand why we are the way we are as people, why we believe what we believe, and what we can do to change those things. Aspirations matter for my students because they are directly going to apply what they learn in my class in the real world, no matter which field they go into. So, not saying that Spanish is the most important content, but it is such a all-encompassing subject where students are learning about art and they're learning about history and social justice through the context of other countries. And a lot of my students never stop to think about, what does the world look like outside of America? Better yet, they never stop to think about, what does the world look like outside of Delaware? And sadly, for some of my students, the pressing question is, what does it look like outside of Seaford? Because a lot of them haven't seen the world outside of that. I realized how important identity was for my students when one of my students shared with me that his dad had been deported. This is a sad reality for a lot of the students here. His dad actually was able to come back to the United States, and his second week back, Javi had a great idea of catering food for our Spanish 4 class while we watched a documentary on an education bill in Arizona banning ethnic studies. So at that point, Javi was so proud to share food, not only from his culture, but from his family's restaurant, as we were watching this really powerful film about a ban on his culture in schools. And we had Asian kids, we had African American kids, we had Caucasian kids, all enjoying one common thing and all believing in one common purpose, which was not even, we need to learn Spanish, or wow, this food is great, but we understand that it's not right to take our education away from us when we want it. And through that, I've seen him become an even more remarkable student than he was in the beginning, because he is not now worried about the issues that come along with his father's status as a citizen, but he is working actively towards making changes. We had a senator come visit our classroom, and the senator very respectfully asked the students what they thought should be changed in Delaware. And Javi, who is not a United States citizen, shared that he's dying to get his driver's license because he goes to work every single day after school and works there all night. And it would just be really nice to give his sister a break from driving him all over the place and picking him up from school and leaving the restaurant. I'm very happy to say that the senator proposed the bill last week.